Right, let's get started. And he has for months been Ghana's most wanted. An Interpol alert on his head, while thousands have periodically poured onto the streets to demand payments for their investments saved with his defunct Menzgold gold dealership firm. Now today we can confirm to you Nana Appiah Mensah is back in Ghana and already under CID arrest. Now in case you didn't know why Nana Appiah Mensah is of such importance to many in Ghana today, here's why. His company, Menzgold, collected funds in investments from many Ghanaians and promised huge sums in return. Now, some gained, but many have had their funds locked up after it was shut down by the Securities and Exchange Commission. A while ago, the police held a news conference giving details of circumstances leading to his arrest. Right, now we can take you there now, live, where MFA Poe is at the police headquarters. We'll speak to her now. MFA, good afternoon. Tell me.
Hello, good afternoon.
Indeed. Now tell me, what's the absolute latest since the police press conference? What is the situation at the headquarters?
Okay, so as we speak, the number one is still here at the CID headquarters and still facing the very building, which is the public affairs building, where everything went down. His father, his lawyers, among several other lawyers, crack lawyers that were put together for that investigation, and then also some questioning when he was brought from the airport. Of course, in that meeting also was the CID representatives, including the Director General of Police, Menzgold, and then also the other representatives from the CID. And as we speak, he's still being held here. He's supposed to be, the lawyers were asking for a bail. But what we are told by, at least from the lawyers, is that that was not granted. His statement was taken from him. You recall that there was a red alert that was issued for him, for which he was a wanted man, the most wanted man in Ghana. And then also we are told that he's held here because on a number of charges, 3 of them, which is defrauding by false pretense, taking deposits, and then of course money laundering. These are the reasons why he's being kept here. And we are told that hopefully by tomorrow he should be able to go to court for processing. That bail, bail months were not met. They didn't allow that. The CID says no way, that's not going to happen unless we go to court. Then the court will decide on what that will be. But interestingly, a number of his family members and some workers, close family friends, and then of course workers have started massing up here already. They've been here since we got here from the airport. They've been here all the way, and it's been hours and counting. And what they've done, some people, including A+, others, including a number of them, those that are very close to him, they are largely because they've all massed up here trying to show support. In the last few minutes, though, we see that they've gone shopping for him, shopping bag from Una agency. He's going to buy stuff for him. His household items. He's going for that for him. And from my sources also, he's having his lunch as we speak, and then after that, they'll give him some grooming. But it doesn't look like he'll be leaving the CID headquarters anytime soon. We are told he'll be moved from there to one unknown location. Then he'll be moved from there to court. So as it stands now, he's so comfortable here. But from what the lawyers also tell me, the police have been very professional in their dealings with him. He's in high spirits, and they are happy with the way that everything has gone in terms of questioning, to taking his statement, and to detaining him here. It looks like everything has moved from what the lawyers tell us. And he's in high spirits. Of course, it's not Christmas for him like they are telling us, but he's in high spirits, hoping that at least now that he's home, everything will be done. At least in our interaction also with some of his team members also, they tell us that, yes, now that he's won that case in Dubai, customers can be reassured. Once the money is paid to him, they will also get their money. One interesting thing also, we're hoping that we'll see some customers massing up here already. But I must say that security is very, very tight for such a case. I'm surprised though, but security is very tight. So we haven't seen any customers massing up yet at the CID headquarters. But some assurances they've already started giving is that once the money that he got from Dubai is released, customers will be paid the amount. But Kujo, as I speak to you, he's still here at the CID headquarters. That is Nana Appiah Mensah, still in custody, being detained here. And at the right time, I'm sure he'll be moved to a secret location, hoping to go to court tomorrow. Right. And in that case, the charges that have been brought against the lawyers say they are going to fight it with everything they have.
Right. So from what you're telling us, we haven't yet started to see customers or aggrieved customers of Menzgold massing up at the headquarters. We are yet to see that. Is that right?
Yes, not at all just yet. At least I've been here since God knows when. Since he was brought from the airport all the way. That is about midday thereabout, and we haven't seen any customers yet. I must say that CID and security personnel here have not been really nice at all. They would not tolerate any, massing up or people who they tell you this is a security zone. And if you are not supposed to be here, you are not going to be allowed to be here. I must say that we are stationed, I have my team also stationed outside, and then also the back of the building, and where I'm also standing in front of the building. And we are monitoring events because we are hoping that they will take him out of our site. So we are on standby and monitoring, but we haven't seen any customers mass up yet. But my colleagues are also on the ground. I said, when do we see any signs of those? Because that's what we're looking out for all day, but it doesn't look like customers would want to be here. But I'm hoping that maybe that will happen, and when they go to court tomorrow, that is where I'm sure they would have access to him, and they would know that this is what is going to happen. So they may be massing up in court tomorrow. But as I speak at the CID headquarters, we haven't seen any massing up yet. At least they may have come here individually, but not in groups, as we are expecting. But there are pockets of people around here, but can't say for sure that these are customers or not. We've been interacting with some of them, but they are all saying that they just heard that NAM1 is here, so they are also coming to monitor events. But as for whether they are customers, none of them have been able to tell us just yet that yes, they are customers coming for their money from here. Not that you would have the cash on him carrying in a fertilizer bag that you can see them from here, though, but we haven't seen them yet.
Indeed. Well, MFA, it's a good thing you're there for us. Keep your eyes peeled, and of course, I'm sure you will notify us as soon as anything
and congratulations,
moves.
By the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. How kind of you. And of course, I will be talking more about that particular story, St. Augustine's victory, a bit later on the show. But right now, though, while we're still on the return of NAM1, let's hear what the CID's PRO, Juliana Obing, had to say about the arrest and the detention.
All right, so the Chief Executive Officer of Menzgold, Mr. Nana Appiah Mensah, popularly known as NAM1, is presently in the custody of the Criminal Investigations Department headquarters. This follows an Interpol alert issued for the accused, NAM1. He was handed over to Interpol Ghana by Interpol Dubai today for the continuation of the investigations that started 2018. Updates on this would follow. Thank you.
Right, now we've also heard from the PRO of Nana Appiah Mensah in the person of Ni Ama. Here's what he had to say.
What's going on? We know he's arrived and he's currently at the CID headquarters. Okay. What more do we know?
Okay, well, so coffee ready normally.
If you're ready. If you're ready.
Okay, yes, I can confirm to you that my boss, he arrived this morning around 11:30. We came in with his lawyers, so we went to the CID. Was asked to put his statement. He has done that. We are praying that tomorrow we will process him to court, and then we'll see what happened.
Okay. So, but what why is he being held here? What have we been told about why he's being held here?
Well, as you know, he was brought in because of the red notice alert that was placed on him by the CID, and the charges that they placed on has to do with defrauding by false pretense and money laundering. So it will be used on him to come, do the charges, respond to the charges, and that's it.
Okay, but you have seen him. How is he doing?
Oh, he's doing well.
He's in good shape?
Yeah, he's in good shape.
Okay. But how long are we hoping he'll be kept here? Do we know, is he going to court tomorrow?
I doubt they will keep here for long, but I'm sure by tomorrow we'll take him to. Okay. Now, yeah, I guess they
Right, we'll be coming back to this issue. There's more to talk about here. But right now, though, we'll take a very quick break. We're back on the other side of this. Now, as promised, let's go back to that earlier story on the CEO of the now defunct gold dealership firm Menzgold, Nana Appiah Mensah, who has been denied bail since his arrival in Ghana. this afternoon. A member of the communication team for the aggrieved customers of Menzgold, Mahmoud Salifu, joins me in the studio. Mr. Salifu, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time with us.
It's a pleasure, and my greetings to the cherished viewers.
Indeed. Now, Mr. Salifu, some would say it's good news that he's back on Ghanaian soil. But as a representative of the customers, do you feel you are anywhere closer to getting your money back?
Not yet, but let me say that we are delighted, extremely delighted that he's finally back in Ghana. Because after the Menzgold debacle started in August, September, thereabout, we have never been sure of Namwan's presence in Ghana. So the several thousands of Menzgold customers who are in sick beds and all that, hearing of his arrival give them some hope that we may be on our way towards full recovery of our investment. So that on that aspect, I say is good news. But the other point is that he just touched down. We want some engagement, some fruitful engagement between the customers and Namwan to propose a payment plan on how all of us can be paid on fully without any form of difficulty in the shortest possible time, because people have been ejected from their homes, others have their kids back from home, and some are on their dying sick bed and they need money to be able to cater for their medical bills. So at this moment, we do not want any long story. We want the government to facilitate this as quick as possible, because the government has failed in its responsibility to ensure that our investment is recovered long ago. So we cannot wait longer. It's good that the man is back through the effort of the government one way or the other, but now we want, how do we put it, the government to put the nail on the coffin finally.
Right. Okay. Now, it occurs to me that the company that he set up that took deposits from customers like yourself and others, who now, as you recount, some of them are in some very serious, in a very serious situation. But the company that he set up is now defunct. I mean, it's been shut down by the Securities and Exchange Commission. It doesn't exist. The entity that owed you money does not exist. Does that cause you any concern in terms of how to get your money back if the company doesn't exist? What do you do?
The company doesn't exist, but the company was doing some business. Whether legitimate or not is none of our business. At this moment, all we know is that the company was doing business and it had monies, and I'm sure it still has some money, and it has assets, as we've been told by Yoko, that some of them have been seized and some accounts frozen. And so now that we are told that he has some monies that he won through some judgment that is going to be, possibly by now he's got the money. And so together with the assets, if all put together, it should be able to cater for all the debts that he owes the customers.
How are you going to guarantee that, for example, the money that he is alleged to have won in Dubai finds its way to Ghana? How can you have any control over that as customers?
That's why we propose that any step of the way towards a resolution of this matter must involve the customer's leadership, and then it should be facilitated by the government, because we believe that the government somehow did not perform its obligation as expected of a government that worked its salt. Because in the Securities Industry Act, there's a provision that talks about Security and Exchange Commission, if it feels that a company is taking monies from customers without a license or contrary to the terms of the license, that the commission shall write in to the companies, to the said company, to pay all those money to the people from whom the monies were taken, even together with interest.
So you basically hold the commission responsible for the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So in essence, you are seeking to get your money back through the commission, not directly from NAM1?
And NAM1, actually, we have a contractual agreement with NAM1. That is okay.
With Menzgold?
With Menzgold.
Yeah, not with NAM1.
Yeah, that is correct. We have a contractual agreement with NAM1.
Which does,
Menzgold, I should say.
Which does not exist anymore.
It should exist because if I have a contractual agreement with you, until you fulfilled it, it continues to exist.
Even if the organization doesn't exist?
If the organization does not exist, then you should, then you have to refund all the investment. Principal, especially the principal. But we are not there yet because we believe that before the recovery of this money, there must be some form of engagement to discuss how the payment should be. Because the point is, some of the customers took their investment there, paid commission for the contractual agreement to be executed, and the contractual agreement was never executed. In that case, they may need their principal with the commission that they paid, or they should be paid with their interest. So that's why engagement with Menzgold at this point is very necessary, and we expect the government to facilitate it. And at no point towards the resolution of this matter should the customers be left out. It is expected that we'll be part of every step of the way in order to get this matter resolved amicably, and then people can have their monies, people's livelihood could be can return to normalcy, because at this time it's really difficult times for a lot of the Menzgolds, because I can tell you that we have recorded no less than 20 deaths since this debacle.
Wow. So, well, that's worrying. Let's see if we can bring in Amanda Clinton. Amanda Clinton is a lawyer who represents some of the Menzgold customers. She joins us over the phone right now. Amanda, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Hello, Amanda.
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, there you are. So NAM1 is back. He's in police custody, and he's to be arraigned before court. Now, it occurs to me that a court case accusing him of crimes related to the activity that he undertook with your customers, your clients, sorry, is likely to go one of two ways. He's either going to be found guilty or not guilty. Now, if he's found guilty, he'll end up in jail. Will that help or hinder your clients' efforts to get their money back?
I think that the Ghanaian judiciary system and the police will handle this in a bit more of a sophisticated way, because it really isn't about jail time. You know, this is a civil case to do with lots of money.
Forgive me, but
yes.
he's in
So what
CID.
I'm hoping
Forgive me, Amanda. Just to clarify, he's currently in CID custody. He has been charged with defrauding by false pretenses, accepting deposits, illegally accepting deposits. These are criminal charges. So even if there is a civil case, there is also a criminal case.
Yes, there's also a criminal case and a case to answer. But ultimately, you know, the courts will decide which way it goes. But I always want to reiterate the fact that, you know, dealing with this from a practical sense, it really is all about the money. You know, him sitting behind bars might not necessarily bring that. So what we would want is perhaps the due process to be handled well, in terms of the police will and the courts, you know, will in turn let the public know what he says happened to all that money, and, you know, a form of public inquiry, as well as, you know, a documented case as to how this happened in Ghana, because it's not just about Menzgold. It is about, if the government had stopped this in the first year, the massive deposits that came in the third, fourth, and fifth year would not have happened. Do you see what I mean? In the first year, you're unlikely to get someone to even deposit 200 Ghana cedis in the first year. So the blame is not solely on him. We also have to go through due process to establish how regulators allowed an unregulated company to receive those funds.
Now, those processes you're referring to, they can happen with or without NAM1 being in Ghana. So why have you not started those processes?
Well, we've always said
said it. We've always said it, that a public inquiry should be had. I mean, I went from like TV station to radio station, saying that, if regulators are charged with not managing illegal deposit taking, then surely such a company, because apart from the massive transactions that were coming through, bank transactions, I mean, I'm sure you would know with your bank, if a transaction higher than $9,000 comes in, they even send you a form, you have to fill it out. Do you see what I mean? So there's a lot of regulations in place even when the money comes in. The second point is that most of the money was cash. These people practically had a bank underneath their building because anytime they had to pay someone, they could just access the money and pay it, which is, they were operating like a bank. So I don't want to do like a name and blame game, but apart from NAM1 being held accountable and also perhaps indicating how this happened and, is there money somewhere for the customers? Because it's all about the money. I don't really, my focus is not on jail time.
Right.
It's about the regulators, because I'm letting you know for a fact, it was like an algorithm where you test the system. And by the third year, by the time they reached the third year, there was so many customers coming in. By the fourth year, there was more. By the fifth year, they got the majority of their customers. So if they had been shut down in the first and second year, this wouldn't have happened. So it is not just Menzgold to blame. Menzgold was like a sweet factory. They were getting lots of money. Obviously, they would carry on doing it if they were going to get money. But had they been stopped, the people who were, liquidating houses and flying from abroad with loans wouldn't have done it. But the thing went on for 5 years. So they said, this is as sure as anything you could invest in.
Right. So,
if anybody can pay
Amanda,
that deposit
you're pointing the finger at the regulators. You're saying the regulators should be taken on.
I'm not pointing the finger, but everybody is to blame. But
who's everybody? I'm not to blame. So who's everybody?
Everybody, in terms of the company. I think they had very good intentions. In fairness to Menzgold, I really think they had very good intentions. But at the end of the day, a company becomes regulated because, as well-intended as they are, sometimes the machine gets too big in terms of the operation.
So again, we're talking about the regulators.
Then you can regulate.
So again, we're talking about the regulators. You actually said earlier
we can't also, and the customers
the regulators
as well. I would also put this on the customers that after a while, there were a few warnings. But again, if the regulators hadn't shut down the company, but just gave warnings, then the customers said, well, regulators haven't shut them down. So all these parties do have to be held accountable. Right. But ultimately, we really hope that the discussions with CID today prove to be very fruitful in terms of it is not just about the criminal charge.
Right. Now, you said earlier that the regulators should be taken to court. Who's going to do that?
Oh, no. I definitely didn't say the regulators should be taken to court. What I said is that there should be a public inquiry, like a commission. Do you see what I mean? So to establish what exactly was it in terms of what can we call this thing? How did it happen? When did it start? When could it have been prevented? Did Bank of Ghana do, mystery shopping? Which, there's lever arch files. Bank of Ghana did mystery shopping years ago, where they identified, the processes that were going on with this company, and yet it wasn't shut down.
Yeah, these facts are in the public domain. We know about this. But how will that lead to your clients getting their money back, which, as I understand,
it would lead, first and foremost, if you identify something in a system like Piriami or something happened a few years ago, you prevent it from happening by identifying where everybody went wrong. And then you could even find the regulator and say that in future, if we see red flags like this, and if we see a company change status from a bank, they were shut down, to this type of company, then we should, shut it down a lot sooner. Secondly, our customers do have an opportunity to get money, because I really hope the discussion with CID and Mr. Nana Appiah Mensah proved to be very fruitful as to, was a lot of money moved out, for instance, to Dubai in order to make this payment, and then perhaps the people didn't pay the money they were supposed to, because maybe Menzgold was working on getting a higher return for the gold they shipped out. So we need to know where this money is. And if the money was moved out for the purpose of a large transaction in terms of Dubai, then the government could be in a very good position to legitimize, making a diplomatic request that this is Ghanaians' money in mass, and then try and get that money back.
That is provided you can identify where that money is.
Yes, provided that Nana Appiah Mensah goes on record to say that he was actually trying to turn this money around. I mean, if people were buying a large amount of gold, they were going to pay him a certain percentage above, and then the customers would have got their money. Do you see what I mean? And then things went wrong. We need to identify where millions and millions of dollars went. And once we do that, we can have a case of, trying to bring that money back.
Right. Now, Amanda, you're the representative of some of these clients, okay?
Yes.
But in our conversation, you've said that you believe that Menzgold and Nana Appiah Mensah actually meant well.
No, I mean, because I'm not going to say that they meant well in terms of I know this is an absolute fact. But what I do know for sure is that every company tries to be well intended. Do you see what I mean? It's like they want to make a profit, they want to make people happy, etc., etc.
But this is a company that was cited for violating regulations over and over again.
Yes, but my point is, okay, you know what? Let me explain this to you. If, for instance, there was a company selling water, and they were unregulated by the people who regulate water, and then people started dying. Do you see what I mean? You wouldn't not regulate them because they haven't been regulated. Do you see what I mean? You would shut them down.
This company was regulated. Several times the regulators wrote to this company and told them to stop doing what they were doing. So they were regulated, just that they did not abide by the rules.
How come then they shut them down as of 2018? My point is, they could have shut them down as of 2014. And more precisely, they should have been shut down within the first 6 months of operation.
A company that means well should have been shut down in the first 6 months of operation.
But you know how? Okay, you know what? I mean, I have a legal background, so I can tell you how this works in terms of compliance. When you're in a compliance situation, you look at the history of the company. Bank, spelled B-A-N-K, changed, and they were shut down as soon as they set up as Men's Bank because they were deposit taking, changed to BANC, and they were shut down immediately. The same directors then, within a short space of time, went to set up Menzgold. So when you look behind the company as a regulator and someone in compliance, you say, but you guys, right from the beginning, the same individuals, you were trying to do deposit taking. And so I don't have to justify myself too much that you are in the deposit taking business and you are a potential harm to people if you do not get regulated either as a bank or as a deposit taking institution. So that's my point, that they could have been regulated a lot earlier based on their history of being Men's Bank, Men's BANC, and they were shut down immediately, and those were the same directors.
So right now, your clients' only hope of getting their money back is if Nana Appiah Mensah tells the CID where this money is.
I can't talk about matters that are in court, in terms of in the civil court, but we are going through due process in order to ensure that, to the full extent of the law, what we can get, we can get. But we also would like a lot of transparency because, everybody's been talking about this issue for months. But the main question to ask is that why were they unable to pay people, their monthly amounts when SEC said that they couldn't bring in new customers? SEC never said that they can't pay existing customers back. They just said you can't bring in new customers. So that's the crucial question. What sort of operation were they working with that they were dependent on the new monies coming in.
What do you think? Does that make you think that it was a Ponzi scheme?
I mean, I can't say that definitively, but it does bear the hallmarks of a deposit, of a Ponzi scheme. If, for instance, the second the regulator said you can't take in new people, is the exact month that you stop paying people something that you've been paying for 5 years.
Which is why I do wonder why you suggest that they meant well. But anyway.
No, because I suggest that they meant well because, look, even if, for instance, everybody sets up a company and they're saying that I want to make a profit, I want to give people their returns, I want to do this. It's well intended in terms of maybe the hearts of the people or whatever it is. But as a regulator, you are in a higher position to ensure that people who are not qualified to deposit take do not do so. So no matter the heart of a person when they went into this, in terms of, they wanted to help the people, they wanted to give dividends, they wanted to make a name for themselves, I'm not going to demonize people and say this is a horrible person who meant all evil throughout Ghana. I'm not going to say that. What I will say is that no matter what their intentions were, it was for regulators to identify that Men's Bank was shut down, Men's Bank, BANC, was immediately shut down, and then you have the exact same directors setting up Menzgold. And so you look behind the history of the company, and compliance-wise, you shut them down as being a deposit-taking institution who are trying to mask themselves.
All right. Amanda, I want to thank you for your time with us. We appreciate it very much. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more now that Nam1 is back on Ghanaian soil. Now, let me just check with you, Mr. Salifu. You've heard what a lawyer for some of the customers, I'm sure some of the people in your association are represented by Amanda Clinton.
No, not that I know of.
All right. Well, she does say that she represents some of the customers of Menzgold. Now, hearing her legal position on this, saying that she thinks Nam1 meant well, she thinks that the solution is for the state to launch an inquiry into the institutions, which might be actually something that the regulatory system could benefit from. But she says that the way to get the money back is Nam1 must tell the CID where it is. You agree?
Yeah, before I get there, she made a point earlier that if the company had been stopped much earlier, it would have helped in not worsening the situation as it is now. I agree with her on that score because as a member of the leadership of Coalition of Aggrieved Customers of Menzgold, I've realized that a lot of the membership joined Menzgold in 2018, which means that if it had been nipped in the bud before that time, a lot of us wouldn't be in this situation.
Right.
So the regulatory institutions are to blame for this mess. But
are you going to advise your members to sue the regulatory bodies?
That has always been on our table. But we're also looking at it that if we're able to get what we want, that is our money, then it may not be necessary to go on the legal aspect. But if persuasion fails, we may end there, and even we can go to ECOWAS court if the need be.
So what you're saying is if Nam1 doesn't provide the money, you will consider the option of suing the regulatory bodies, including
Menzgold, if it has to.
Well, Menzgold doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but we can sue. We have a contractual agreement with the company, which had board members and even management.
So you sue the individuals behind the company.
We can do that. But the other issue about he currently being at the CID and the state pursuing a legal case against him,
a criminal case.
I think that is uncalled for at this moment, because this is a national security issue. This is a situation where people have lost huge sums of money and they are dying. And so as a state, the state must be focused on how to get the people their monies in order to restore their livelihoods back, not to prosecute the man when he hasn't given us the money. Well, we don't care about the prosecution. His incarceration is none of our business at this moment.
But you're saying they shouldn't pursue it?
If they have to pursue it, it should be later and not at this time. At this time, the government should be focused on getting us our money. If we get our money and the government wants to deal him in whatever form, that will not be bothered by it.
But let's clarify. Tomorrow, the state is going to make a case in court that Nam1 is a criminal. They are going to bring criminal charges to him, against him in court. You are saying that they shouldn't do that now. They should let him go free.
No. I'm not telling you, because at this moment, I'm sure he is in the grips of the state. And so he cannot be allowed to go scot-free when he owes thousands of Ghanaians. And it is the reason why the government must be concerned that once thousands of its citizens are affected by this situation, which has worsened their life, their lifestyle, which, and in some cases, it has broken homes. So the government should be rather interested in ensuring that the people get their monies in order for their lives to be back to normal.
But they can only hold him for 48 hours without charging him. So they will have to charge him if they're going to keep holding him.
If in that case, the state, there are so many ways in which the state can hold someone despite the fact that he will be granted bail. For instance, his passport could be seized, his movement could be monitored by state actors. So the state has such enormous power to keep the man in check such that he is not able to vote.
But they shouldn't charge him with any crime.
For now, they should concentrate on getting us our money. And thereafter, whichever form they want to deal with him, it's the state.
So you think it's the state's responsibility to get your money back?
It is, because just as I told you a while ago, that in the Securities Industry Act, there's a provision that tells the Security and Exchange Commission that if it realizes that monies have been taken from individuals without license or contrary to the terms of the license, it should write to the said institution to refund all those monies back to those from whom the monies were collected, together with the interest. Right. So it is the state's responsibility. We need our money, and that's all, not prosecution, not incarceration.
Mr. Salifu, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Right.